Hello, my name is Abby Roberts, Senior Director of Product Marketing with Datasite, and today I'm here with Jen Buell, President and COO of Agenus, a clinical stage immunotherapy company, to talk healthcare trends and best practices for the year ahead. Jen, can you tell us a little bit about Agenus and what it does?
Sure. Agenus is a biotech company. We're developing immune therapies for patients with cancer, and we're doing so, and we're designed to do so at record paces. So we've built a platform of capabilities that allow us to go from a concept, an idea, to the drug development, to GMP manufacturing at path-breaking speeds in the industry, and that's allowed us to bring more new discoveries in this space than any large pharma company. And just in the past 4 years, we've brought 15 new discoveries to patients with cancer. And that has allowed us, about half of those we're advancing on our own. And about half of those we've established some very productive collaborations with partners like Merck, Gilead, Incyte, GSK, and others.
Great. And of course, addressing the biggest dynamic shaping the industry in the last year, how has COVID-19 impacted not just your company, but the cancer immunotherapy industry overall?
Well, COVID-19 has impacted all of us in a few ways, and one of which I'd like to acknowledge really the incredible pace of discovery with some of our partners in the pharmaceutical industry who have actually delivered at record-breaking speed some vaccines and potential therapeutic options that can be very helpful. So what we did see was that the imperative of COVID really pushed the industry to think about all of the tools and capabilities and the technology and the products that we have in our own portfolio and determine how they can be leveraged with incredible speed to help patients in this particular, or the globe really, both patients and those infected and unimpacted at the time. And we've been able to see that COVID-19 and pandemics in general have transformed societies and history. In this case, is no different. We're seeing a major acceleration of digitization, of artificial intelligence and those tools that are necessary to accelerate the pace of drug discovery. We've seen additive manufacturing and the ability to actually develop respirators, for example, with printing capabilities. And so that type of innovation was really much of that. The acceleration of it, I think, was truly driven by the imperative of the pandemic.
Okay, great. And of course, not only have you done 15 discoveries in the last 4 years, but you've also managed to do it while conducting a number of partnerships and collaborations and licensing and acquisitions. You're really experts in financial transactions. So curious to hear from you, what kinds of transaction types do you expect to see more of in the year ahead? What should people be prepared to see?
So what I expect, and we're starting to see these trends really play out now, I envision many more partnerships. Innovation is critical. Agility is really important. And I think some of these smaller technology and biotechnology companies can actually serve that purpose, developing a pipeline for some larger established pharmaceutical companies. And I think that you can retain that agility through these partnerships, less through M&As and more through partnering transactions like the deals that we've been seeing in the industry. I think with Gilead and Arcus and a number of other transactions that we've actually contemplated where some of our assets have actually been established to be partnered through a co-development, co-collaboration type model. And that's how we've been leveraging our capabilities and our pace of discovery and supporting some of our larger companies who need that type of agility and innovation. And I think we're going to see more of this over time.
So it's so interesting. Not only are we seeing more innovation on the critical clinical side of things, but more innovation in how to structure deals to make it work for all parties. But of course, talking about innovation, one of the big challenges for everyone in the finance industry in the last year is how to do deals while working remotely. What have you found? What have been kind of the pros and cons of trying to do all of these transactions on Zoom?
Well, I think we have gone back to the old school philosophy of relationship building. And I think that's a fundamentally important, and it's much more difficult to do via video than it is certainly in person. So we have some more structured relationship building conversations, trying to better understand the group or the partners on the other side, whether it's financial institutions or partners, pharmaceutical partners, to understand what is it that they are seeking, and spending much more time on the front end of that relationship so that we can, on the back end, structure a really powerful financial transaction that actually makes all parties happy. So, feel very good about the transaction. So, I think it comes back to the fundamentals: relationship building, understanding, and listening. And that's something that we've been really perfecting through our more recent transactions.
So it's interesting you've now developed this almost pre-work relationship building process all on Zoom. So curious then, in addition to the relationship building, what would you advise for startups or for other companies looking at transactions next year? What can they be doing now? What are some of the top tips that you've developed through all of your years doing quite a number of transactions?
Well, I think progress is so critical, and the ability to articulate the type of science that you're doing and the value that it can bring to a partner. So, in addition to the relationships that we've spoken about before, and really understanding how your tools, your capabilities can actually bring value to another party who can bring value to you, it's being able to communicate what you are delivering and why you're delivering it, what your purpose is with the technology, and what solution you're bringing forward. And what has worked exceptionally well for us, particularly in the space where the science isn't as widely known. So some more of our highly novel therapeutics, we have a very novel product that we've partnered with Merck that is now advancing in the clinic and just recently announced some very powerful phase 2 data. In trying to communicate the criticality of this science that no one else had been talking about at the time was complicated. And it did require a significant effort in our ability to truly understand what our partners were seeking and how we can actually convey and communicate the value that this particular program could have to patients and to their portfolio. I think that that's a really critical piece of this.
So it's so interesting. You're circling back to that pre-work and just understanding those fundamentals and doing that, doing those discovery questions. So you really start with what does your partner looking to do, and then matching that to your own communication.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Is trying to understand so that you can convey your message as opposed to just one size fits all approach, trying to customize the communication and articulation of your findings and your innovation in different ways that may resonate differently with people. I mean, I think that that's a communication is really so critical. Some excellent science goes unvalued or undervalued and sometimes not utilized simply because we're not able to convey the value of that particular product or asset or tool.
An age-old challenge for scientists, to be sure, and techies. So
that's true enough. That's true enough, and that's why I think something that we do work very diligently on is having a cross-sectional group of people come in and really pressure test our messaging for a particular asset. And sometimes the question is, the advisor may just say, "So what?" And if you can't answer that, you can't answer then what, there's a problem, right? So that's a really easy tool to just simply say, "So what?" And great science and new innovations will always be able to answer that simple question.